Welcome back to MVFF, Mount Vernon's Film Festival, the first annual one, and we are here again with
Attilio Crupi.
Toy. Oh my goodness, I watched your film, and I have to say, it is phenomenal. It is phenomenal. Those shots, the topic, the controversy. I'm so curious on what made you choose that topic.
So this is all based on a documentary that I watched on Netflix called it's Catching Killers. It's a docu-series, and there was one episode that really caught my attention, and I felt like telling that story because there was an interesting dynamic between the person that was being investigated, who wasn't the killer, but who was being approached by another person who wanted to sacrifice his body for cannibalism. So I thought that dynamic was interesting. I totally just spoiled my film, by the way. I just spoiled but it's okay. I think that dynamic of somebody who wants to die and a killer who's wanting to kill that person, I thought it would be an interesting dynamic to experience. So.
No, and I loved that dynamic. It left me on the edge of my seat. I didn't know what was coming next, which is a phenomenal feeling, especially for a cinephile. Can't even lie. Now, when it came to that subject, right? I mean, one was obviously the cannibalism, and the other one was the individual's, I guess, we'll say home life.
Yes.
For the moment, right? That home life. I love the way that you were able to dissect it, and even though it wasn't necessarily, I don't want to say, saying it that is cliche would be a disservice. It was not that it was cliche. It was like something that you would expect, but the way that you tackled it was like sort of like close, but it was like it was like a different perspective. I'm just curious on, did you have that same thought of like, I didn't want it to be cliche, but I wanted to tell this story, or anything in regards to that when tackling that specific subject?
Yeah, so I like stories that revolve around family because I think that family is what molds us into what we become, whether we have it or lack thereof. I think they're big influences on our life. So this film was more like a way to tell that kind of story, a little surface level, but in a horror setting where you can really explore. I tried not to use too much dialogue in this film, and I thought that helped in a sense of just exploring what the characters are going through internally, and obviously their intentions. So I think horror is a great way to explore the darker themes of humanity in a safe way, and like for people to see it or experience those kinds of traumatic things in a way that's entertaining, hopefully, or suspenseful and all those elements of horror. Yeah.
And since you're here at a film festival, I was just wondering, I was curious to know, were there any films in here that inspired you or made you rethink maybe your future projects or past projects by chance?
That's a good question. I've enjoyed all of the films. I think that the cinematography for a couple of them really stood out to me, and I want to shout out Standoff and also Fatal Mistake. I thought those were great cinematic, films, and I'm always looking for, especially visually. I love getting inspiration from other, artists when it comes to that. Because when I see something like Standoff, for example, they shot on an anamorphic lens, which I love. I'm a big fan of Roman Polanski and his work, and he also uses anamorphic lenses. So I want to use that in my future projects, and this just inspired me to do that for my next film. So, yeah.
Well, thank you again. You're looking sharp in that suit, I gotta say. And you heard it here first.